Did you know there's over 200 SEO ranking factors in Google? SEO is the easiest way to capture new sales and qualified visitors without launching or funnels. But SEO isn't the sexy digital marketing beast that maybe TikTok is right now. You really need to understand your customers are still searching on Google after all these years. They're also all over YouTube, which is owned by Google and is the second most used search engine. I'm Janet Bartoli, and I'm the owner of Super Simple SEO Workshop and the Bartoli Consulting Group, where I teach business owners just like you to apply basic and not so basic SEO in their websites so that your business can be found by far more customers in Google. And today, I'm going to break down the SEO periodic table of elements. Yes, it's geeky, but this thing has been around since 2011, and I have never actually walked you through all this. So let's dive right in. There's a number of things here as you are looking right here at the SEO periodic table. Now, this is something that rolled out back in 2011 from Search Engine Land, still is something that you can also get in Search Engine Land. This year, though, they have done a ton of really new, cool stuff. And so one of those things that I wanted to show you is sort of first I'm going to give you an overview, an understanding as to how to even read this thing. And these elements are all different pieces or elements that will actually allow you to learn and understand and adapt to what makes sense from an SEO perspective. These are specific elements and they are weighted, and I will go through that with you as well in understanding how to read and interpret this and how, more importantly, it relates to your specific industry or business. So to start with, as I mentioned, and I will put a link below of how you can access the SEO periodic table, but there are a number of different SEO ranking factors. We know hundreds, and there are many, many more in the various layers of the Google algorithm that we are not privy to, and Google will never tell us. So there are, as I mentioned, a variety of different groups. There are 6 groups here. The first group here in the left side is the content. Now, I'm going to be going through every one of these elements in the next course of the next number of weeks so that I can dive a little bit deeper in to what these specific elements means and how you can directly apply this to your website or your SEO practice. Content is the first column. Everything from quality, research, answers, depth, we'll get into all of that, but that's the first column. The weighting in each one of these different elements, you'll see there is a weighting, and it is weight ranked. So quality in the content is ranked number 5. And they're all from pretty much, you'll even see some negatives, and there may be some negative numbers, and a +5, which is the biggest number that you could possibly get. Then there's the element symbol. And so in the first one column, which is content, and it's QU, which is quality. And then you'll see the element name, which is, in this situation, again, it's quality. Then you'll see a description, and then it'll actually give you a little bit of a description. Pages must be well written and have substantial quality. Okay, that's pretty broad, but as I said, once I start getting into each of the different videos in the following weeks, you're going to learn and understand a little bit better about what that actually is supposed to mean and how is it relevant to your particular situation. So that's essentially how you read that. Then, of course, as with each element, you'll see at the bottom the actual category it belongs in. So we're now in the content category. The second column is architecture. Okay, things like crawl, mobile first, structure. These are things that are critically important, and you will find in any good technical SEO audit, the majority of these things is what we like to analyze and make recommendations against. The third column is HTML. And so HTML is still something we look at from an SEO perspective. We'd like to avoid code bloat, let's say JavaScript, for example, or CSS. which we might need to externalize that code so that we can lessen the bloat in the page. But HTML is the standard. And so when it comes to HTML, we need to understand specifically what HTML we're looking at, whether it's image alt text for your images, whether it is specifically title tags or schema. These are different things that are HTML. The next column is reputation. This is a fairly new specific type of category that is listed here. And the first one listed here is expertise. This is, I don't know if you've heard EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. These are all the expertise, authority, and trust are both +5s, and the +4 is trust. We'll be going through that as well, but just to say that this is a relatively new category in the periodic table. Next to that, and I want to highlight this, is link. That there's is link quality, anchors, and quantity. Okay, so this gives you, quantity is also a +2. So it gives you sort of an understanding in terms of all the other categories and all the other things that make up, this is what you should be looking at. The broad array of different things that you can and should be applying. It's never just links. And so this is just, I think, further underscores the point because, as you can see here, it's not really vast or great. Next is user. It's obviously user experience. We want to look at the country that this person, the user, is from. So these are the different things from a user perspective. The next one is toxins. So we've got these 6 positive groups, and then we've got the toxin. And these are things that are encompassing things like keyword stuffing or things like cloaking. Anything where you're trying to trick the search engines, for example, would be listed in that toxin group. And then, as I mentioned, there are 3 niches. There is a local, there is publishing, and e-commerce. And so these are sort of the niches that you'll see when it comes to SEO, where you can apply all basic best practices. But when it comes to specific local SEO, publishing, or e-commerce, there are specific other elements that are brought out here. So that's it. That's what I just wanted to show you guys today. Just a broad understanding in terms of what matters from an SEO perspective. There are hundreds of Google ranking factors, and this SEO periodic table, which comes out every single year, is something that many SEOs, including myself, looks at to really determine and understand what is working this year, what was working last year, and seeing how this thing has evolved over time. So follow me, continue to comment, let me know what your thoughts are. But next, I'm going to dive deep into that specific element that is quality. And when it comes to content, quality is really the king when it comes to content. So I will see you back here next time, your quality element that is in the SEO periodic table.